This is AOD Gaming versus Spencer John. Alright, we got AOD Gaming on the left, playing in blue. On the right, we got Spencer John, playing in gold. I think Spencer's off to move the con yard up, deploy right below the trees, starting his crawl upwards. AOD going with the kind of non-traditional, especially for AOD, instant deploy. We'll see what he gets up to here. AOD getting for the greedy Peasy style build, straight into a ref. Crawling up with the racks and the silo. Meanwhile, Spencer John's going with traditional power plant racks ref. Slightly behind in his build, possibly because of the Conyard move early on. Okay, we got the second ref there. In terms of vision, AOD scouting is only kicking off now. Spencer's kind of ahead in the vision, it's good to see. Flamer doing some good work. Is this one going to get past? It might. Down it goes. Alright. Both players getting their kind of bottom third ref here at the same time. Expect to see a strip come up from each player. So you expect to see a strip at least coming up for Spencer John here. Traditionally GDI is going to get a War Factory. Because AOD didn't move here, I'd be curious to see where he ends up putting his War Factory, because there's no real safe positions he set up for himself here. Will be interesting. AOD meanwhile getting full vision of the Conyard here, going to do some power harassment. If my man Spencer wasn't ahead in vision after AOD opening ref, I wouldn't be surprised either. Danku, he is trash. Good point, DK. DK knows. So there's the War Factory going down. The problem with this placement for GDI players of the War Factory is that bikes can actually shoot over this ledge. So do be mindful of that. We'll see if it comes into play. Meanwhile, we see Spencer John. He's getting his strip up. He's going to be producing buggies pretty quick. AOD, meanwhile, is actually opting to crawl towards the bottom middle tib field. Take some full map ownership. The advantage of this is that, yes, it gives you the forward map placement, but this is terrible in terms of your ref, because it has to come out of the bottom of the refinery here and go up, take the tib, come all the way back down. Like I would argue it's much better to go towards the top field and take a little bit of the side action here, but we'll see how it plays out. See a little engagement here from Spencer John, a few buggies in the field coming on in. Getting in the way, this is like DK special style, blocking your placement, knowing that you want to take the top left field but denying it. AOD opting to put a silo beside the main one, probably in a little bit of panic. We got two medium tanks popped out there for AOD. The racks here is actually not too bad, because it's going to be a lot more difficult to snipe a racks than it is going to be for the silos. Meanwhile, Spencer John's continuing his eco crawl. He actually has got an Apache at this point too. It's a bit of a late Apache. He can still arguably get his money's worth from it, so long as he micros it. Got to be careful of these ref placements. Putting them like this in this straight line means that this harv is going to bug out, and it's going to go all the way around and back and around and back. If you keep these offset by one, it enables you to slip between it. Meanwhile, down here, Spencer getting the ref snipe, which is pretty big. AOD having to be slow to react with the medium tanks. These things just travel so slow compared to non units. Those are the racks down though, so you can rebuild off this. Again, quite smart in terms of trying to have a foothold in place. Coming in for the buggies, trying to snipe the Conyard, but a guard tower coming down from AOD. It's an underutilized asset for GDI players, that guard tower. It can be super effective in hoarding off these mass amounts of light vehicles. So it does some splash damage too. Pretty effective. Seeing a little bit of engagement here from AOD on the counter offensive. Spencer has spotted it though, and he's going to try ward it off while sending a group of Grens up top. AOD's going to get the power here and likely at least one ref. Meanwhile, down here, Spencer has managed to pick off the rats, but not quite sure it's worth the commitment for the buggy trades you have to pay. Up here, we're going to see the quick ref snipe. Going to lose this tank in the north. AOD continued to crawl down the bottom off the guard tower and re-establish the racks. Meanwhile, Spencer John has been able to secure the bottom right tip field, so he does have a slight eco lead, although he has lost this rep. Spencer John rushing back to try and hold it. He just lost the power plant. this point in time, we see AOD on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ref versus Spencer's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ref. And we do see AOD's just gotten +1. No bikes coming out for Spencer John, although I spoke too soon. Here they come. He's starting to switch up the tech to deal with the mass tank action. Also starting to get the Apache involved now. This is good. Would like to see more micro on the Apache. Needs to be cautious. This little attack force up here. AOD's going to swish in. This is a very far back ref, and you hate to see the AI get caught like that. A little bit of pressure being applied here, but he has to pull back. He's bringing all of his forces up here to defend, it looks like. You want to keep a couple here, a couple of buggies to deal with the Grims. Has managed to get the forward ref, but if he's not careful, AOD's going to be able to snipe this with not a lot of difficulty. Meanwhile, Spencer's trying to do something similar down below, but buggies are just not going to be as effective as tanks in these positions. And once you have 4 or 5 medium tanks, you can more or less like 1 or 2 shot these recon bikes. And the flamers are going to just do nothing against them. So, as you can see here, the medium tanks doing a good job defending this, and AOD is starting to fall back towards the defendable bottom left of the field. Spencer John, meanwhile, has secured the field here, and he's got a turret set up. It's a nice positioning. It's going to be hard for the tanks to attack it head on, so they have to attack it from here. See the bikes going in here, do some aggressive play, going for the refs. It's pretty nice. Phil chilling out. That's the Apache brought in with the bike. This is always a nice combo. Apache can usually finish off what the bikes can't do on their own. Seeing another small force here from AOD. AOD is loving these little small attack forces with a handful of Grens in the medium tank. It's a nice play with GDI. Both players still have their construction yards. Neither player's managed to get a second vehicle production building up yet. Spoke too soon. AOD's just gotten a second war factory out. Spencer's going to need to get his second strip up. Haven't seen him produce anything in a while. Could potentially be aiming to get it here and then get a refinery down here for the top middle. He's lost the ref here is a huge deal. AOD meanwhile securing access to this tib. Spencer going on the counter attack, sending in the fights. Gonna go straight past them here, take out the ref. Very nicely done. Seeing a light tank coming out. Interesting choice. 2 light tanks. Light tanks versus GDI is very rarely worth it. Unless you're going to squish him, but we have an attack force here from AOD, and is he going to lose the ref? Oh, and he loses the Conyard. Shit. That's huge. Spencer confirming they were made by mistake, fair enough. I managed to get the ref here, nice, nice. Using the Conyard here is huge. It just puts you way behind. Even if you can get the sell off, it's better. That's how it goes. A lot of light tanks. Again, useful for squishing infantry with GDI Masters Grens, because the speed of them is so slow compared to the rest of non-Cyrusnal. Like, the buggies and bikes are just going to get in front of everything else first. Inner Warwick player got let loose for a split second. Yeah. Looks like might have medium tanks versus light tanks here. But you can see here, like, you kind of have to leave these light tanks in place. AOD still has his Conyard. He can't afford to sell at this point. He does have like the refinery lead, but instead he's solidifying his positioning with these medium tanks alongside the Grems. Gotten the ref here, very nice. Potentially going to get the ref here as well. Definitely not letting AOD have it easily, that's for sure. Gotten the ref. This is pretty big because now these harvesters are going to have the long distance mine back to these refs. Coming in up top. Could potentially go for the Conyard snipe. The only disadvantage of this is that when you attack it, it might actually prompt AOD to sell it. Would love to see this going for the War Factory instead. Meanwhile, up here you've got the massive forces kicking off. Medium tanks versus light tanks and buggies. The buggies are going to do very little damage here. A couple of rocket men coming into the mix as well. Interesting choice. A couple of rocket men can be quite powerful mixed in with a not army for sure, especially against medium tanks. I managed to get all the refineries in the bottom left while the action's going on up top. This is huge. These now have to go way back to these refs. As you can see, the Harris are doing the proper combo. Meanwhile, bottom right here has been cleared out by AOD as well. Players having huge exchanges here. You can see from the army kill count, AOD is ahead by about 60 kills, but in terms of the structures destroyed, Spencer's ahead. Now, this is always very scary to deal with when there are medium tanks right on your doorstep. I would like to see John possibly switching to get a few more bikes into his army, because it's very pluggy dependent, and nearly all of his light tanks have been killed. Okay, the Harris up here in the top now are getting harassed by AOD. Still is the War Factory down here producing, and the War Factory here. Conyard's gone. Cheers, man. Alright. So you can see AOD's making a real good use of these small kind of attack forces from GDI. Spencer going on the offensive here. Pretty tight. Like, getting control of this is huge for Spence. Losing the Apache here kinda sucks, but this actually is quite terrifying now, because the army composition here is got 3 bikes, which is okay. But once you move these all out of positioning, these Garens and then tank can come up here. So I'll be curious to see how this plays out. I need a lot of micro, move these around the tanks so that they don't shoot. If you leave these static, the medium tanks can hit it, but if you move them, the units can actually miss. Which certain other CNC games don't actually have as a mechanic. You're going to be able to take this out. Okay. But here we see the final army of AOD starting to make its move. Spencer's chilling up here at the moment. Selling a couple of rafts that aren't being used. No harm. Okay, okay. Would like to see a couple of flame units like this. This is good. Have these try and take out the grenadiers and then focus the bikes and the tanks. These couple of flamers up here though, you don't want to lose the strip. I also would have opted to sell them forward nose strip, not the one that's like in the back, for this reason, but hindsight's 2020. At this point you can only produce infantry, and AOD's got a buttload of tanks on the way. I'm afraid at this point it's going to be very much AOD's game. And that's going to be GG. The final kill count, Spencer's got 211 kills, AOD 319. Spencer's got 12 structure kills, AOD's got 11. This is a good back and forth game, Spence. I would happy to put up that much of a fight against AOD playing as Nod for sure. But GG's. G to the G's.